So here is the homework video for 2.3, the second day. We're working with the transcendental functions. Again, we look to see how many trig functions we see, or if we see a natural log, etc. So in number 2, we've got two separate u substitutions. I've got to work with my trig function, and then I've got to work with my natural log. I only see one trig function, so I know that I'm going to pick what's inside the trig function. I take its derivative. I don't have the correct coefficient, so I'll divide by 3 on both sides, and then rewrite my integral. Now again, it's just up to us to remember that the antiderivative of secant squared is tangent. I look at the second piece of my integral, I see a natural log, so I'll pick the natural log, and when I take its derivative, sure enough, I see the derivative of the natural log in my function. So I rewrite my integral. I don't have to worry about any coefficients in this one. Use my anti-power rule. And so then I bring my two pieces together for my answer. Number 4, I only see one trig function, so I know to pick what's inside the trig function. I take its derivative, and again, I don't have the correct coefficient, so in this case, I'll divide by 7 on both sides. Rewrite my integral, and then again, it's up to me to remember that the antiderivative of sine is negative cosine, and then I write my final answer with 7x plus 1 back inside. All right, number 6, I see one trig function, so I know to pick what's inside the trig function, and it's also overlapping with the fact that I see two square roots, so I know to pick a square root. I take the derivative. I don't have this correct coefficient in the denominator for once, and so instead of dividing on both sides, I'll multiply by 2 on both sides and rewrite my integral. And then again, as I said, it's up to us to just remember that the antiderivative of sine is negative cosine. I substitute square root of x back in and write my final answer. 8, very similar to what we saw in number 2, where I pick a natural log. I do see the derivative of the natural log because I've got an x in the denominator. I don't have to worry about any coefficients in this one, so I rewrite my integral, use my anti-power rule, write my final answer. In 10, I see two trig functions, so I know I'm going to pick the trig function with the higher exponent, but when I pick that trig function, I do not include the exponent. So I get sine of 2x, and so I take my derivative of sine is cosine, derivative of 2x is 2. I don't have that correct coefficient, so I'll divide by 2 on both sides, rewrite my integral. Remember, we can't use our anti-power rule until we get that variable out of the denominator, so I rewrite it as u to the negative third, use my anti-power rule, and find my antiderivative. And then finally 12 fits into our category of we only see one e value, so we will pick its exponent. I see two square roots, so I'll pick the entire square root. And similar to one of the earlier problems in the homework, I do see the derivative of the square root because I have a square root in the denominator. I don't have that same correct coefficient from earlier in the homework, so I'll multiply by 2 on both sides, rewrite my integral, and the antiderivative of e to the u is e to the u, and so I rewrite in terms of x and have my final answer. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask on Monday. We're going to see a lot of problems similar to this when we take our quiz. Have a good day.